Difficult does not mean bad. None of the games I plan on discussing are considered bad. It just means they may not be easy to play. Ahoy there, and welcome to Too Hard For You, where we break down games in the racing genre that can be considered among the most difficult to play. Difficulty cannot be attributed to the following. They cannot be difficult due to bugs and glitches, like with Need for Speed Undercover. They cannot be related to the control scheme, like with Midway Arcade Treasures 3. And they cannot be influenced by real-world money, like with Asphalt Legends. This time around, we're looking at Need for Speed's biggest competitor in the 2000s, Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition, as well as the remix version. At the turn of the millennium, Midnight Club Street Racing was among one of the first racing games to capitalize on the growing street racing scene, combining it with sightseeing compact remakes of world cities in the style of its predecessor, Midtown Madness. Then came Midnight Club 2, which jacked up the difficulty, but we'll talk about that game some other day. Afterward, Rockstar saw what EA were doing in the Need for Speed Underground era with its customization and open map and said, hold my beer. Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition was the first entry in the series to use licensed cars and motorcycles on top of licensed car parts. Yeah, you could actually install most of these parts onto your ride in real life. But all throughout, the game continued the series' tradition of making players earn their victories. How did Midnight Club 3 gain its notoriety? The driving physics are firmly in arcade territory. Every car becomes prone to oversteer if you slam the brakes, causing you to skate all over the road on tight turns. Some braking is required to negotiate harder turns, but more often than not, you'll be going flat out. Treating this like a sim racer will guarantee you last place. The world around you will attempt to slow you down, but you'll rarely come to a complete stop, unless you hit a wall, or a pillar, or a bus. Traffic cars can get tossed around like Hot Wheels, trees explode in a plume of leaves, and streetlights topple like dominoes. Hitting traffic slows you down the hardest, so you generally don't want to hit it, obviously. Beware that you can also get tossed around like a toy car. More often than not, you'll get thrown askew clipping traffic and other racers, causing a setback through no fault of your own. Returning from MC2 is the Slipstream boost. If you tailgate behind an opponent, you'll build up a separate boost gauge. When full, hit the boost button and you'll get a jolt of speed to propel you in front. It comes in very handy, but at the risk of recklessly charging through oncoming traffic like, how about a bowling ball shot out of a cannon? I can't say bull in a china shop anymore thanks to Mythbusters. Each car, or should I say vehicle, has their own handling feel. Imports have better grip, muscle cars have better straight line speed but turn like whales, SUVs are actual whales that bulldoze traffic, sport bikes grip like tree frogs, etc., etc. Performance upgrades can change vehicle handling to some extent, but it's more effective on some rides than others. Tuning is available, but it's not like any other racing game. In essence, it allows you to fine-tune how each car handles. This can be a lifesaver with cars that love to slide around. MC3's handling is a little slippery, but is otherwise easy to grasp. Just put your foot down. Or, that's what I would say, if it wasn't for... City maps can lead to some tight and tense racing in any racing game. In Midnight Club 3, you're racing in compact versions of 3 American cities, San Diego, Atlanta, and Detroit. You can also race on the Tokyo map from Midnight Club 2 in the Remix Edition. But in typical Midnight Club fashion, these cities will kick your ass if you don't memorize every street. You don't have time to visit IRL landmarks like Petco Park, the Bank of America building, or Renaissance Center. You've got a race to win. You've also got to keep an eye out for the occasional shortcut, as that can really help you in point-to-point races. Again, memorize every street, alleyway, and parking garage. If you don't take the right path, the AI will. There's also closed circuits using sections of the road designed for time attack races, and also closed circuit races. Here you can disregard what I said about treating the game like a sim racer, because braking at the right time can make all the difference. The city maps do take some creative liberties for the sake of gameplay, but almost everything is where it's meant to be. I have a whole video dedicated to the maps of the entire Midnight Club series, so go check that out when we're done here. Midnight Club 3 does not want you to win. And it's not because of rubber banding. Rockstar learned not to copy that from EA after MC2. It's because the cities themselves are actively working against you. If all the tight turns don't screw you up, the copious amounts of traffic will. Midnight Club 3 feels like its world is alive and bustling because of previously mentioned traffic flow and the odd pedestrian here and there. The knock-on effect is that you have to make split-second adjustments if you can't see that bus hurtling towards you. Oh god! But with each ride, it gives you abilities unique to that vehicle. I'm referring to Zone, Aggro, and Roar. Zone slows down time and allows you to make extremely tight turns, which would inspire the driving focus ability in GTA 5. Aggro turns your ride into a runaway freight train, allowing you to plow through traffic without taking damage or slowing down. And Roar sends out a shockwave, pushing everything in its radius out of the way like a Ludacris song. While the game really doesn't want you to win, you have all the tools at your disposal to tell the game otherwise. Once you unlock them, of course. More often than not, you'll end up stealing races that are too close for comfort if you combine your abilities with a slipstream boost. A well-timed Roar or Zone can make all the difference in the world. And did I mention there's no rubber banding? If your car is fast enough, your foes will rarely keep up. The inverse is also true for you. That said, by the time you reach Detroit, the AI are much faster and more adept, though still prone to the occasional mistake. If you screw up badly, you're likely never going to recover in time. Do I even need to preface this segment? It's friggin' Midnight Club! Midnight Club became infamous for its high difficulty ever since the first, and starting at the beginning of MC3, you only get to pick from a small handful of cars with the $22,000 you start with. Gotta say though, the cars you can start with are pretty diverse. You've got a Volkswagen Jetta, a Dodge SRT4, an increasingly rare sight today, a third-generation Mitsubishi Eclipse, a Volkswagen Golf R32, a third-generation Chevy Monte Carlo, and, if you get the remix version, a Scion TC. After you buy your first car, you're thrust right into your first race, appropriately titled Rite of Passage, which will quickly teach you the first few ways the game will kick your ass. Most races are ordered with multiple checkpoints scattered throughout, but there are multiple ways of reaching each checkpoint. However, following the arrow that points you in the right direction can often lead you to getting lost or going onto the wrong road. If you don't know how to navigate the city, you'll get stopped in your tracks. Then there's traffic patterns, which are partially randomized each time you try or retry a race. Patterns follow similar groupings, but the timing of when certain vehicles cross your route are random. For instance, the trolley in San Diego. The first race has a ramp for you to jump over the trolley, or you can try to swerve around it hoping to clear the last train car. If you hit traffic, you'll get stopped in your tracks. You even have to contend with emergency vehicles in some races, but it's the cops who will put the fear of God into you. If you trigger a pursuit, your minimap starts flashing red and blue, and at least one angry Chevy Impala SS will try to pit you. Remember when I said there's no rubber banding? That does not apply to the police. They'll be all over you like an angry hornet trying to stop you. Well, you get the idea. Mercifully, you don't get fined if you're stopped by police. That wouldn't become a penalty until MCLA. However, when you do hear the familiar siren sound, you'll be traumatized because ambulances and fire trucks share the same sound. It's not just the traffic patterns, it's traffic density. MC3 has higher traffic volume than a Need for Speed game of the time. This makes races all about carving the path of least resistance. Sometimes your ideal path is blocked by a cluster of traffic, so you have to make adjustments on the fly. You can't bowl over them in most cars, and plowing through traffic will cause your car to take damage. Car damage has been around in the entire series, going all the way back to the Midtown Madness games. If that meter on your speedometer is filled, your car is totaled. If you total your car in the middle of a race, you're screwed. You'll end up losing time as it takes a few seconds for your car to respawn. Unless you decide to go for a swim, then you lose outright. On the topic of least resistance, there are some point-to-point races with only a start and a finish. Map memorization is critical because the quickest route may not be the easiest. Remember where shortcuts may be, and if all else fails, remember the opening cinematic and follow the leader. Then there's the infamous unordered races. There's a series of checkpoints scattered across town, but no set path through them. How you get there is up to you. In the early phases of each city, you don't earn a lot of money, meaning messing around with new rides and performance upgrades doesn't happen often.
What, you think you're a pimp, BC?
Even then, you can only buy things when you gain the right to buy them. Cars, bikes, upgrades, and visual parts are locked behind progression, meaning you can only buy these things after completing a certain amount of races, or certain types of races. But you'll likely end up with the Lexus IS300 as your second car, which has loads of tuning potential and can even hold its own throughout the mid-game. Some races are also locked to certain vehicle types, i.e. luxury cars, tuners, or choppers. These are known in-game as car clubs, and motorcycle clubs, I guess. To gain access to these clubs, you have to win races organized by certain racers wandering the map. Win all of their races and you gain access to these club races. It also opens tournament races with prize cars to win. For example, winning the Balboa Park tournament in San Diego not only unlocks races exclusive to luxury cars, but nets you the perfect starter luxury car, the Chrysler 300C Dub Edition.
The 300C is an instant classic.
In order to win these tournaments, you need to have a quick enough car and plenty of patience. If you're in a tournament race, you're locked in. You can't restart an individual race. You have to either win it in one session or start over from the first race. But the good thing is that because it's a championship format, you don't necessarily need to win all races. You only need to have the highest points total at the end of all races to win the tournament. In the event of a tie, you win by default. It also doesn't hurt to restart the first race, since 9 times out of 10 the first tournament race is the hardest, and the reward for winning a tournament is well worth the effort. Unless you win the Chevy Bel Air from the stage tournament, that car sucks. As the game progresses, cars get faster and payouts grow higher. You can actually start earning more money from club races if you come back to them later. Then you can start saving for that Toyota Supra or Nissan 350Z, or even a Ducati. Either that, or you can spend that money on upgrading your current car or dressing it up. But there's 2 easy mistakes you can make. 1. Buying a car the next class up as soon as they unlock because you won't have access to performance upgrades when you get those cars. And 2. Buying faster cars because faster cars are much harder to control. Speaking of control, the game can be really hard to control at times due to performance. It's absolutely awful regardless of what console you play it on. The PS2 chugging I can understand, but the Xbox is honestly surprising. There's a ton of traffic, a bunch of CPU racers, and the occasional weather effect. When it rains, snows, or fogs, it causes crippling levels of slowdown during a race. As far as I know, this is not a bug. I said bugs and glitches can't contribute to difficulty. I didn't say anything about frame rate. Now, if you thought San Diego was tough, then you haven't been to Atlanta or Detroit. I've been to Detroit, and I can tell you that it's really hard to navigate. Same story with Detroit and MC3. Atlanta in-game is a lot more vertical with elevation changes and jumps everywhere. It's able to contain the faster cars. Detroit, on the other hand, is able to cage every car with its claustrophobic streets. It was when I reached Detroit that I really started to lose my patience with this game, having to restart races multiple times because of things like weather making vehicles harder to grasp, falling off bikes, CPUs using nitro at the start of a race, CPUs causing pileups, simple human error, and blind fury. It was also at this point that I realized the wrong vehicle can completely screw up your run. B-class bikes are of D-class spec. Sure, they have tight grip, but they can only possess 1 nitro, and you'll see other riders firing nitro many times. Cars like the Nissan Skyline GTR are great for the early stages of Detroit, but you won't be able to win the Bad Boys tourney in it. You'll end up saving for a car like the Celine SR or the Dodge Viper GTSR, but by the time you finish that tournament, your next rivals will be in lower A-class cars like the Cadillac CN. Detroit hustles harder. But the three American cities pale in comparison to Tokyo. Ported over from Midnight Club 2, Tokyo is so technical and infuriating that it justified its own separate campaign from the base game. I'm referring to the Tokyo Challenge in the remix version of MC3. However, you can acquire several new rides in this side campaign, like the Dodge Charger SRT8, the Ducati Pulse Smart 1000, or the Pagani Zonda C12S, then bring them over to the main campaign. No, I don't own the remix version for Xbox, and I couldn't get into a groove playing remix on PCSX2 with its default settings. Yes, I know I can remap the right stick to the triggers, don't at me. Earning more money and or faster rides can feel like a grind considering you may end up having to restart races multiple times. But when you consider that the vehicles you do win are often better than what you have, fill a certain niche, or sell for a good chunk of cash, the payoff is worth the hassle. Though an arcade racer at heart, Midnight Club 3 is among the hardest racing games to play since entire cities work against the player. The AI gets really hard really fast, requiring races to be replayed to save up for upgrades. You're not going to be beating this game in a short time. However, the potential earnings from races scale up as the game goes on, and the player can quickly acquire everything they need to win races. While it may not have the largest vehicle roster out there, MC3 has vehicles you would actually want to drive, each behaving differently to the next. That said, picking the wrong ride can sabotage your career. And so, I've ranked Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition and the remix version in the cruel but rewarding tier. The game won't hold your hand, but if you put in the dedication, you will be rewarded. In a racing game series renowned for its difficulty, Dub Edition might be the most approachable entry in the series, at least until I find a way to play Los Angeles. Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts on MC3, and which starter car gave you the most luck? The Eclipse, the Monte Carlo, the Jetta, the Golf, the SRT4, or the TC? Drop a comment below. I'm personally fond of the SRT4, but I've always wanted to own a TC. This has been Squiddy the Kid signing off. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz.